Hi guys, it's Cindy
And Michael.
from Part-Time Permies, and we just came over from the road, so I think they were just wrapping up. But let's see who we have in the room. Let's see, you have your mom here, and White Picket Fence, and Curie, and so we have a few people coming in. I know we didn't give a lot of leeway intro time here, so I'm sure we'll get a few more coming in as we're starting off. So, but I guess I should ask, can you guys hear us? Clock says it's already 8. Well, it's already past 8 here. It's already 9 here. But trying to see. Okay. Yeah, and actually I will say there's probably about a 20-second delay on the video from what you guys see. So my countdown probably goes 20 seconds after the minute changes anyway.
Yeah, we go live right around 9, sometimes a couple seconds, minute before, but yeah, by the time you get it, who knows?
Yeah. The roads went live just for their premium members.
They do it twice a month.
Twice a month, yeah. So it wasn't a public live. It was just for the premium members.
Cindy helps moderate a lot of times.
Yeah.
And sits in on that when we can.
Yeah. So, hi, Bree. Listening in. Yeah, and actually that's where a couple of the viewers come over from is from.
So Linda hanging out over there.
Yeah, we did see Linda and Tina hanging out over there.
Yep, they're regularly there.
Yep. So I think they came over from the roads.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
They learned about us from the roads,
we may
which is
see them
awesome.
soon.
Yep. So anyway, so we've had quite the busy weekend, and I feel like I've had 3 showers today, and I've not actually had a regular one.
Well, I took 2 regular ones and got
soaked
3 t-shirts already.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we were mid 90s with high humidity much of the week.
Yeah.
We've had some storms, especially today. We're cooling down a little bit, but we had
some windstorms coming.
And then we had windstorms last night that were pretty violent.
Yes.
Caused some trees down.
Hey, Bandana Grandma.
So yeah.
Yeah, so we had some updates. I'm gonna go get to that update in a moment, but I wanted to show you one from last night. I opened up the nursery tractor that had the Silky babies in it yesterday to let them, just in the evening, to let them out and start free ranging with Mom, and they're in the poultry net with Gus the goose and the Silky Roo, but the Silky Roo had no company except the trapped mom and 2 babies in the nursery tractor. So I opened that up and let them out, and last night they decided to roost. I don't know if you can see that. The Silkies are black on black, are really hard to see, but there's actually 2 little ones in front, and then Mom, and then the rooster is in back. So they are in order of size basically there as well. If you can distinguish, Mom and the rooster are hard to pick out in this picture, but they did all decide to go into the main Silky coop and basically a tractor last night. So we got them all converted over so we can pull out the nursery tractor and use it for the next Broody girl if we have another Broody girl sometime soon. I miss anything there? Something turned your mute on. Oh no. I'm glad you can hear now, Carrie. Yeah, I have problems with mute sometimes. One other thing I saw, we had those storms last night, windstorms, rainstorms, and such. Well, starting yesterday afternoon, I guess.
Yeah, it was after market.
Yeah.
We had a little rain going into market. In the early morning, we had some. Actually, we had some big thunderstorms Friday night going into Saturday. We were woken up about 1:15. Power flickered on and off a number of times and shut down very briefly.
Yep.
But I guess a lot of people lost power. I mean, we just had it temporary.
Yes.
It was no
there
big
were
deal.
A lot of people without power and avoiding the market because they didn't have power.
They said 60 to 70 mile an hour winds came through parts of this area.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I wanted to look at, and I've been looking for these guys for a while, but I was a little concerned that with this high winds and the rainstorms and everything, I went and took Puddin' on a walk and started looking at the milkweed, and look what we have on our milkweed. Anybody know what those guys are? the little ones. And then we have Green Gables and Second Half Home said, hello, hello. So this is the underside of a milkweed leaf that's growing in our zone 5, which is the wild zone. We have paths through it to walk puddin'. And this is on our back property, basically. So you guys, anybody know what those little guys are? Might be hard to see on a cell phone.
Oh, two families in, and Bandana and Grandma left.
Yeah. And a white picket fence. And Linda's here. Hello, Linda. Came over from Rhodes. And did I miss anyone else?
Let's see. Well, who is coming to
Who's coming to Hootenanny? Yes, they're monarchs. Yes, you guys.
We've seen a number of monarchs starting to fly around in the last week or two.
Yes.
But they haven't really hit their peak yet.
So that is 4 little monarch caterpillars on one milkweed leaf. I didn't check the rest of the leaves.
We have a lot of wild milkweed that grows around here. We actually get very heavy monarchs.
We don't have as much on our property as there's around our property, though. Yeah. And did you guys know milkweed is edible when it's young? You can actually, the first shoots you can cook up like any other edible shoots, and which everybody tends to use asparagus as the example to that. But we don't, because we don't have a lot on property, and I tend to like them for the monarchs anyway. And that is the common milkweed is edible. The butterfly weed is not, by the way. It is another type of milkweed, but it's not edible.
Yeah, Bandana's going to Hootenanny. I knew that.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Bandana's coming, and 2 families coming.
And 2, as I say, I think both of them are coming. Yep.
Gma's Garden, hello, welcome. I don't know if you've made it here before, but welcome, welcome. And I'm sorry if I didn't notice. So for anybody else going to Hootenanny next weekend?
For any of you who don't know what it is, it's in the Jackson, Michigan area.
A little south.
So on the south border of Michigan. And so it used to be the Michigan meetup, but it really encompasses more than that. We definitely get Ohio, Indiana. Yeah. And we're getting people coming
all over the place.
From all over. So what are the press saying? Maybe 200 to 300 people?
They were estimating 200 last I talked to them.
It's about doubled most years.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Well, this is only the third year. Most years being the first 2. So there's going to be a lot of people there, and a lot of people camping. Some people stay in hotels nearby and coming during the day. It'll be on Saturday, the 27th, but I'm going out Friday and starting camping Friday.
And it is a free event. Camping is not free. It's you have to pay for a site and secure a site in advance, but the day activities on Saturday are no charge. The Pratts pick up the charge for the picnic area and other things. So
if you're local, it's a potluck. If you're not local, then come eat. There's going to be plenty of food anyway. So potlucks, people bring more than they need.
Yeah, there's going
to be lots of food. But if you guys are close enough for a day trip out there, or you want to camp, there might still be camp spots. I'm not sure.
It's a pretty good sized campground. There's 2 or 3 main areas. So we are in one area. So there were some dedicated spots. I believe they're full, but you could be very close by in the same general area if you say you're going to the Hootenanny. Otherwise, if you could be randomly placed
other places,
a little further than you may want to be.
Well, I'm not sure how many spots are open actually.
I don't know. It was very busy last year.
Yeah.
It was near capacity, and we were only a portion of the families and activities going on.
The cabins were already filled up before they even made the date announcement.
I'm guessing
Hootenanny,
people flip them year to year.
Probably. But hello, 13 Moons, and did I say hi to Green Gables? I don't remember. Green Gables is going to be in San Antonio and Austin next weekend.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. 2 families going to be there. Trying to see if there's anything else. Oh yeah.
They need to move it a bit more south.
Well, there's a lot of other events further south. So this is our northern event.
I think Homesteader America would be your better bet to go a little further south.
There's a lot of them in the south.
Yeah.
So, and I think, is this weekend the one that Doug and Stacy are doing? Because I know they were going to try to make Hootenanny, but they couldn't because theirs was like 1 week off. I don't know if it means it's this weekend or the weekend after Hootenanny, but
Bandana's got a hotel, motel. Yep. Yeah. I think you can hang out till almost 10 o'clock at night or so.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'll get there mid-afternoon on
Gosh,
Saturday. I need to work a market first.
13 Moons, you should start one out there or try to get one going with, there's a lot of people out west with
Yeah,
channels
and this is
too.
really a regional local
Yeah.
focus on it.
And
So
it's not a big conference like some of the
yeah,
others. It's more just a hangout.
it's a hangout to meet people that either some of us that do
Hi,
YouTube
Tina.
channels, small or larger,
Yeah.
as well as it's totally for anybody who wants to get together with people that are doing similar projects and just hang out for the
Mm.
day. So it's very casual and friendly. Um, and yeah, kids are definitely invited. It is on a Methodist private campground, so no alcohol, um,
No.
reasonable conservative dress in bathing suits or is bathing,
Yes. Yep.
and you know that's all. Just keep it family friendly and everything's great. So
So I think Doug is in August. Well, that must be the week
yeah,
after then because this is the last Hootenanny is next weekend, which is the last weekend of July. But I know they're only like not that far off each other. So, um, do people get nervous when Mike is trying their dish? Because he's a chef.
I try not to make a big deal
He eats
about it.
everything.
Yeah,
So,
I'm pretty open. There's very little unless I see something that's just awfully wrong that I won't try.
yeah.
Um, and I guess I always value things based upon what they're supposed to be.
You're awfully wrong just means like food safety
Food
primarily.
safety or something just terrible is going on. Yeah, yeah. It's I probably put
There's
myself
rare.
at risk more often than I should trying some weird, stuff that you never know. Home kitchens, people do all kinds of things they think's normal, and the rest of us think is far from normal. But in general, and foods that are cooked are generally pretty safe, anyways. But I also evaluate things like if you're going to a diner, I have an expectation of a diner. I don't.
Yeah.
If I'm going to a really fancy place, I have an expectation of that place and what they say they're doing and what the
Yeah.
cost is.
Or if you're eating home cooked food, you expect home
Yeah, I
cooked
expect
food.
home
Yeah.
cooked food. I mean, we
It's
cook a
not
lot of
fancy.
home cooked food. We were
Yeah.
kicking around. We had a local turkey from a neighbor that
Yeah.
we cooked last week, and then we had, of course, leftovers. And I made like equivalent to a turkey pot pie or turkey a la king with, a quick milk-based sauce, no heavy cream or anything fancy. I threw in some old corn on the cob that we'd had from a couple days earlier, some frozen peas. We threw it over a baked potato. I think it kind of sounds like a pretty normal midweek meal for a lot of people that have those things laying around. So, I mean, we do cook maybe a little more than some families, but we don't cook every day.
No. And we eat a lot of
Yeah,
leftovers
we
too.
eat leftover things. We got a Costco pizza this week. So,
what wonderful dish is Mike preparing for Hootenanny this year?
we're kind of kicking that around.
We were talking about it
so
earlier.
two things are I've been running really really busy weeks recently. I've also been having a lot of allergies with hot and
probably mold.
Wet and and so it's been a little itchy and had a sneezing attack one morning that set me back an hour or two. Didn't feel like I was going into the kitchen with my nose running and eyes running, and I couldn't hardly see. But so I'm pretty busy. I've got to work market Saturday. We just worked extra markets this week, so I'll work market Saturday morning and then real quick turn around and go from market to Hootenanny.
Yeah.
We are going to do a pasta demo in the later afternoon. I will be bringing in flour and eggs for doing a hand-rolled pasta, traditional pasta. Many of you have made a similar, but we'll be doing that whether it's for adults who have never done it or want to do it again, or for kids. I'll probably bring in 20 or so bags of like half pound or probably do half-pound batches of flour. But I will bring in good flour and probably average eggs. so I'll have those on hand, and we'll go through like hand cutting, hand rolling, no major tools involved.
Yeah, we don't have enough eggs to do.
Yeah.
Well, we might. Yeah, we might. We'd have to see.
And then we'll we'd need like 60 to 90 eggs. I don't think we have that. No. And then we'll have some bags. So anybody who has refrigeration who would like to take it home, fresh pasta is usually good for a day or two. It's not very long. It could be cooked there for people's dinners, although there's so much left for the potlucks. Or you can make
it for breakfast.
Or breakfast. I will probably do something pasta driven. Probably more towards people will be pretty hungry, but last year we did some brisket and a big pot of brisket and noodles, beef and noodles. I'll probably do something towards the dinner time just because that's when I'll be around. And we're kicking around some simple ideas that have some fun pasta shapes, and I'll probably bring out our extruded or pressed pasta for that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And we'll have pasta for sale.
Yeah, we're gonna bring some pasta. We're not hawking it. It's just it's there and available. We'll give you good prices on it.
Yeah.
But anybody who's out of the area that wants to be able to get access to it, we're gonna make it available. Yeah. So we'll have a tent set up for the demo, and we'll have some pasta.
How many eggs do we need?
Well, so typical pound.
You realize that everybody coming here probably has eggs.
That's true. A typical pound of pasta takes 5 eggs, 5 whole large eggs.
So how many demos?
I don't know. It depends on how many people want to do it. So I'm going to take 00 and semolina, which are 2 grinds of flour. I will have them pre-mixed in little baggies, and pre-measured. And so I think if we do half pounds, we'll need 3 medium eggs, 2.5 large, which is hard to do. So I'm thinking if we do 20 bags, that's like 60 medium eggs. So I was thinking I might
pick some up.
So I get cases of eggs commercially. So I was thinking I might bring in a half case, which could have as many as 150 eggs.
That's a lot.
Yeah, they're really. I mean, they're pretty. I might bring less than the full half case. Yeah. Throw it in a cooler overnight or whatever. We'll use most of them. So that's kind of what I was thinking. But I might even pick up some of the Costco free range, which are sort of a commercial free range, but they're pretty nice.
Yeah.
I have a local farm that we're working on stuff and transferring some eggs. I may end up with some from them. So
10 dozen.
Yeah. I mean, 10 dozen would probably be on the outside of what we need. So
yeah,
and we have a number, but I don't know if we have more than 3 or 4 dozen. Right now
we probably have 5 or 6 dozen that we hear. So we'd be.
We might be able to pull enough eggs together and do all local eggs. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. Yeah, and then I'll bring out good flour. I'll bring out.
I'm wondering, is Two Family talking about bringing extra eggs up?
Well, if somebody's got some eggs they want to kick in, we'd be happy to
do that.
Introduce them.
Yeah,
we do have a mac and cheese video. I'm not gonna do mac and cheese. It's kind of hot in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing something that's creamy and tasty and fun. Simple, but think about bringing something fun.
We had a video on the one that you were talking about earlier too. Yeah, we have a few pasta making.
A lot of eggs in commercial world. So when I'm working in a restaurant, a larger restaurant, a case of eggs is 300 eggs. A square of eggs, which is sometimes called a case or a half case, is 150 eggs. Mm-hmm. I bought half a case of eggs commercially for the pasta work last week for $5.50. Yeah. Now that's probably an all-time low. What happens is you're finishing out some eggs and you're getting a lot of young ones because they're getting ready for holidays.
Yeah.
So they're just starting to lay and the eggs are small. They're small, medium eggs. So they go on the market cheap and there's a glut of them. And I mean, I got a commercial case for $5.50. They're usually $13 to high end is $16, $18. So when you're talking about commercial egg versus measuring half an egg, yeah. Well, what you could do is, because the yolks are more important than the white, all the white introduces more liquid, you could actually toss the white and keep the yolk for a half egg, and then you could use a few drops of water to make your final adjustment. That might be the smartest way if you're trying to handle a real small batch. But yeah, so commercial eggs in a restaurant, I might bring in anywhere from a case to 3 or 4 or 5 cases of eggs. So that's being 300 at a clip. And you can get cubes of pourable eggs that are already cracked. And sometimes for big events, I could go through a few of those. And if you're a breakfast place, even more. So when you're talking about what happens at a home or even a large family or an event versus what happens in the marketplace or a bakery, it's just shocking how many eggs we go through.
Okay, I'm going to switch the topic. We're going to come back to what we did today later because we're talking food already. So we'll just do the Ask the Chef. Okay. And we'll come back to a comment I think people made and I think can turn into a question on what to do with the rest.
Okay, that's a good question. Yes, so, that's a common
But do you want to explain the picture first?
Well, I don't know. Anybody know what that is? It's beef. It's a specially cut. It's one of the preferred barbecue grilling or roasting cuts that has come into pretty good popularity.
It's popular on the West Coast?
A little more regional. West Coast, the South, Latin America.
We had a YouTube friend recently complain that they could not find this in North Carolina.
I don't think they're looking hard enough, honestly. I don't think they had to look too hard.
Either that or they were trying to find
There's a few different names for it.
They're probably trying to find
So that is, in contrast, that's on a plate that's about a 1.5 to a 2.5 pound cut on average on a 1,600 pound steer.
Yep. Anybody know what that is? Oh, we got it already.
Yeah, it is a tri-tip. That is, tri-tip can make some funny forms, both in cooking and how it was fabricated. It should be a little more triangular, but the way it comes together, that's about right. So.
Yeah, not Asabuca. No, you're right. It's
no, it's tri-tip.
Yep.
So tri-tip is a phenomenal grilling item. People started using it because it was cheaper and flavorful and had some nice texture to it. And it was lesser known, although it's really a preferred. When you're talking Argentina, Brazil, I mean, lots of people have a long time ago realized it's a good thing. So the prices have come quite high, quite a bit higher. But they're in the 5 or 6. I think it was $5.50 a poundish range. That was marinated, so it was pre-marinated, which I'd prefer not, but it was a pretty good buy.
Yeah.
Tri-tip comes from the lower hind quarter, so it's the sirloin, which is the back half before you get the loin has the ribeye and all that. The sirloin would then lead into the hind leg. So as you move down, and that's a little different from thinking about sirloin New York strip. You're actually the whole half of the quarter is the sirloin.
Okay.
On the back, and so when you come down towards the bottom, the belly area, you get the brisket up on the front. You get the flank steaks on the flank or on the belly. That would be kind of equivalent to a 6-pack. Those little muscles that you peel off, are a little bigger on a cow than humans.
Yeah.
And when you go behind that and the very bottom of the sirloin heading into the leg joint, there's sort of that connection in a piece. And when you seam that out into a triangle, that's the tri-tip. So exercise, meaning it moves around a lot, is always a surefire for good flavor. Beefy, meaty, very flavorful. Sometimes it makes it a little tougher, so this is a moderately tough, but it's plenty tender enough that it can be, it's really kind of bigger than a steak. It's really more a roast, and it's frequently cooked whole and then it's sliced. But if you like flank steak, that's good. If you like London broil, which is thick cut slabs of, actually ideally should be top round. If that's the type of thing you love, kind of charred and a little bit thick and a little pink in the middle and crusty on the outside, tri-tip is going to be a winner.
A good one.
And it does marinate great overnight in whatever you like to, or doing a rub on it. So it works nice for grilling. Not long grilling, because you do like to keep it a little pink, ideally.
So we had that for dinner tonight.
Yeah, so that was sort of showed up on a special, and I grabbed one. And so tri-tip. And the haulers love it because they're from California.
Yes. They complained recently that they couldn't get it.
Yeah.
They couldn't find it.
It goes under a few different names in different areas, but tri-tip is the most common in the U.S., and it's definitely gained in popularity. I do some sous vide. We
have a video.
Yeah, I am a fan. You can abuse it and overuse it.
And you have to know how to do it.
It's a tool. Yeah, you need to do it safely. That's my biggest concern, is watching your temperatures. Tri-tip would be a good candidate for sous vide. So you could get it to tenderize a little bit, keeping it rare or sub-rare, cooking it probably at 135, 129. Give it a few hours to tenderize, get that marinade in there, and really get flavorful. And then you can sear to get flavor and texture either before or after. This would be a case where I'd want to sear it when it came out of the bag. I'd pour out whatever the juices were, and I would give it a real hot sear quickly on a cast iron, and you'd get a phenomenal result for that. And then you could have it rare or medium rare, whatever you choose, all the way almost top to bottom, and just the last quarter inch would be crusty. And you could re-season it with some salt and pepper, and that would be a phenomenal way to handle tri-tip.
Yeah.
We did sous vide, and just in general terms, we did sous vide of one of the pig heads when we were at the roads.
Yeah.
We did it boneless, took all the meat off of the skull. Ben Holler did that very.
Did Art do it or Ben?
Art might have done it. I think Ben did it. One of the two. They're both pretty good with a knife, and they did a really nice job. It's a little bit of patience, and we wrapped it and we sous vide it and we cooked it for 16 hours, and it was sliceable, melt in your mouth. That was amazing. Really, so that's a super good use. Short ribs, things like that.
Yeah, making my mouth water too.
Yeah, tri-tip's pretty good. We didn't eat it all. We got leftovers. Makes great cold sandwiches.
I did want to go back to what 13 Moons was mentioning earlier,
creme brulee, yeah.
Her daughter was making creme brulee, so now that they have a lot of egg whites left over, what do you do with egg whites?
So creme brulee is one of the heaviest of the custards. It's an all yolk and heavy cream-based custard with vanilla. It comes from France traditionally, and well, it's made a lot in France. People attribute it to maybe Bordeaux or into some of the wine regions. Partly because you use a lot of egg whites and traditionally in fining wine, taking out the impurities when you're finishing the wine can be done with egg whites. In the process, leaving a lot of yolks. Now, there's a lot of controversy, and I believe it's correct that creme brulee really comes from the English because burned cream, clobbered cream, set creams, and things are really much more of an English style activity. And the idea of, I know the Spanish do some similar things, but I think it's probably I think the origin probably goes more towards the Brits. But the French really perfected it. And then, of course, you do sugar coating, so it has a hard crunch and a very, very rich center, and it should have a lot of surface area. You can have creme catalan which gets put on a big plate, and it's super thin, and they brulee the top, and you just scrape it with a spoon, and it's just barely a skin of it. So that's like, even if you really like the sugar crust on it and the browning, that's even more so. But so when I make creme brulee, there's a whole lot of different recipes, but I use something like 2 whole eggs and 5 or 6 egg yolks to my cup or 2 cups of cream. I have to look up my standard recipe and my vanilla bean and my sugar. Sugar's kind of low on it, incidentally, because you put the sugar on top. You don't
put it in there.
Yeah, you don't want it too sweet because it's a contrast thing. Which is why creme catalan, which is even darker and more kind of burned and has bitterness, has a nice appeal. So so there's a lot of different ways, but ideally it has a tremendous amount of yolks, leaving you lots of egg whites.
What do you do with those? So
pastry shops always fight with this because there's always a desire for yolks. You can thicken sauces, custards, you can thicken soups and stews, you can do all these different things that need yolks, and you end up with pools and pools of egg whites, like containers of them sitting all over your cooler. Nice thing is egg whites don't go bad very fast. You've taken out the fat, and so if they're wrapped up and chilled, you can freeze them. You can
White House or the White Picket Fence.
Yeah, you can freeze them. They break down a little bit and get a little icy. They're a little more gloppy. Meringues. But you can freeze them. The evil egg white omelet that became popular in the 80s and 90s. That's a good use for a lot of gloppy, slimy egg white. It doesn't make a great omelet, but it does meet some health desires. Egg whites can make meringues, but if you've ever made meringue, you need a few eggs and like 2.5 parts sugar. You don't need a lot of egg white to make a lot of meringue. And then you can, there are some nice meringue icings that are like buttercream meringue blends and other things. If you're doing cakes, again, you're not going to end up using nearly as many whites as you would think. You can drizzle it into soup and make like an egg drop style soup that only uses the whites.
That might be good.
That's kind of nice. And angel food cake.
Or you could feed them back to the chickens.
Yeah, angel food cake uses, I believe, only egg whites. And what else? You can do some that's about, there's a few things, there's a number of things. The end result in a commercial kitchen or bakery is you're going to end up with significantly more whites left over than you do yolks. Now, commercially, we can buy whole shell eggs. We can buy cracked mixed eggs. They're usually pasteurized. We can also buy pasteurized yolks. We can buy pasteurized whites. You can get them frozen, you can get them fresh. Fresh is always better. Frozen breaks them down a little bit, although it works fine. It's pretty good for most items, not as good for meringues if you use frozen. So in commercial kitchens, we tend to throw them out because they're cheap. It's the cheaper part. So we tend to throw, after a while, you got literally a gallon or 2 gallons of egg white sitting around the cooler. And you're through Sunday brunch and egg stations, and you're like, we're only going to get more on our next round of whatever we're making.
And you don't know what to do with it.
And you throw them down the drain or throw them in a garbage can and let them go. But in our situation on a homestead is feed them to your animals. Whether you cook them or do them raw, feed them to your animals. Baked meringue cups, yep. You can
5 whites for that 9x9 pen, 12 whites for angel food cake.
Yeah, you can do a œuf salonnage where you poach egg whites and then you float them in custard. Of course, the custard is traditionally an egg yolk based custard.
Well,
it probably needed more yolks than it did whites for the oafs or the what else? You can do cocktails where you froth them up with egg white, but again, that's a very limited amount of cocktails and egg whites both. So I think the best bet is if you end up, after playing around with some of these ideas, is either cooking them off into like an omelet or just baking them off quickly, microwave, whatever, and cutting them up and feeding them. You can feed them to chickens, you can feed them to pigs, you can feed them to dogs.
You don't have to cook them to feed them back to them.
And you can do it raw. They're just kind of slimy. So there's no need to cook for pigs or chickens. I'd say for dogs, just because the food sits around, you don't want it to go bad.
It depends on if the dog eats everything at once, they're probably okay. If they are like, our dog is a grazer, that she will go and just eat through the day.
I don't know scientifically or food safety wise for sure, but I have been told, and I tend to agree with it, that egg whites don't seem to go rancid or grow.
It's fat.
It's got high protein, and it's got water, so there's definitely nutrients, but it's not the same as when you blend protein and fat and all those rich things. Then you got and the issues with salmonella and such are primarily contained to the yolk, is what I have understood, but don't quote me on that for sure. So you're probably going to end up with extra whites unless you really love egg white omelets.
Yeah, right. So if there's other cooking questions, you could go ahead and post them.
There isn't a lot of nutrition in egg whites, by the way, either.
No.
There is selective proteins. It's albumin, which is one form of many proteins. Within that protein, there is selective nutrients. There's very minimal vitamin and mineral, I believe. There's a lot of water in there. So the other thing is, don't feel too bad about it. It's not a super high value food substance. It's not a bad one. It's just not like the yolk.
It's not nutrient dense in the white.
No, and it's healthy. I mean, there's no cholesterol in it. It's plenty healthy to integrate it. But don't feel too bad about letting a little bit of it go.
Yeah. So as you guys think of more food questions, I'm going to go back to what I was going to talk about a little bit with what was going on today and yesterday with our windstorms. We did have a minor problem. It ended up being
a major tree, but it was not in a bad area. So.
Yes. So so this is broken halfway up the tree and was hanging over the dog run, which is a widowmaker and possible dog problem. Just hanging there. We had a branch fall down. Anybody following us on Instagram probably saw the branch that I took a picture of first. This is the same tree. It probably damaged the area of the trunk where the tree was when the branch snapped off because it's big.
Yeah, so it's just a little above the midpoint on the tree, and I estimate that's about a 50-foot locust.
Yeah, it probably is.
It might be a little taller, but it's right around 50 foot.
So we had to cut it down, and I will probably have a video on some of this soon.
Yeah, that wasn't in the plans for the day. It wasn't the worst day to do it, but
no,
it was coming. So we needed to peel open our welded wire fence, which isn't.
Go back to that.
We have an opening, so it's just 2 segments. So we just cut that open.
Yeah, so the fence goes between that leaning tree, those 2 leaning trees, and that the top of the tree is on the inside of the fence, and the trees are on the outside of the fence. So we did have to open that up to be able to take the tree down.
Pudding also jumped up and woofed.
Yes.
And growled And we're like, what? And then she did again, and then we heard a thud, and we're like, oh, she heard something going on.
Yeah, I think she heard the initial
cracking of it. Yeah.
And she told us she was growling and unhappy.
She doesn't do that. So.
No, she's a quiet dog. She does not do that. So ended up cutting it down. And if you look in the back there, we did nick a little bit of the back fence line, but
we brought it all the way to the very back, and maybe there was 10 foot of just small branches that laid across the top that lightly bent it.
So we just had barely enough room.
We've actually talked about taking down these 2 trees for 3 years. This one that now is down could fall pretty cleanly. The other one, unfortunately, is going to need to come down in 2 or 3 pieces because it would likely end up on our roof line.
Yeah.
And I don't climb trees, and we don't have a bucket, so we need some professional help to bring that one down. It's probably a little more vulnerable with only one there now. The wind was just whipping and swirling. It was just gusting
50 mile an hour,
and you could watch the trees rotating, and it just ripped it.
I'm surprised more of our locusts didn't come
I'm not. Yeah, I am too. We probably should have. They're a little more a little more guarded.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one's a little bit more in the open because the 2 of them are kind of growing together away from the woods a little bit. But if you look, I'll pull this back up. If you look back, you can see the fence line there. There are some, why am I blanking on the name of the flowers that are back there?
Petunias?
Or peonies?
Peonies. Yes, peonies.
Okay, I knew it was the P word.
Yes.
Peonies that we haven't cut back yet. They're done flowering, and we had the tip of the tree was kind of over the fence and on the just barely touching those flowers. Well, we had a chicken start going nuts and getting very upset about that. And I went to look, once he cut that top branch off, I pulled it off the peonies and, oh, we're moving. Sorry, Puddin's moving behind us, but found 17 eggs. So we have a red girl who's jumping out, who seems to be hiding eggs, and I thought she might be going broody, but she was really just trying to lay another egg. She was under that. She was very upset that there was top of a tree just about landed on her, and she was telling us off the whole time. But that was kind of funny.
So we got that tree down. It was an hour and a half's work or 2. It was pretty fast.
Got poured on.
We got dumped on, so we had to stop.
Yeah, so we stopped in the middle, made dinner, ate dinner.
So one thing is with all the locusts, we did have intentions of bringing down even more, but I bought a pretty good chainsaw. I bought a Husqvarna Rancher chainsaw, which is a full quality chainsaw. When we got here, I have got some concerns with all the trees over the driveway, that on any given day we could wake up, especially in the winter or otherwise,
and have a tree
across the driveway and not be able to get out. So I have a chainsaw ready and on hand, and I had a new chain which now needs to be heavily sharpened. The locusts are really tough on them.
Yeah.
But we got through the whole cutting it up on one chain, and I dropped the last 30 or 40, 30 feet or so. That helix?
Yeah, that was a cat running by.
30 or 40 feet off the trunk, dropped it cleanly, pretty textbook.
Yeah.
Got a real nice drop on that, right where we wanted it.
Yep.
And so we did no problems. Then cut up a bunch of firewood, cut a couple of 8-foot plus sections. There is no rot on it. A lot of the locusts start to rot in the middle or have damage.
No. Some of the branches had a little rot in the middle.
Yeah, that's normal. This is solid trunk.
Yeah.
So I cut the first 2 a little over 8-foot segments.
I don't think our friend in the area is in the room tonight.
Yeah, we're thinking about gifting somebody who's looking for some. Looking for some stuff, see if they have interest. I don't mind cutting them up and using them for firewood, but if somebody wants to do a project, I decide not to go longer than a little over 8 feet. A lot of times you go to 10 or 12 or whatever for longer board, but I figured weight-wise, and then
sorry, new phone sound still on.
Yeah, and then we we dropped that. We cut it all up, got the brush and the truck, so. Had pickup truck on hand, old truck on hand, had chainsaw on hand, brought it all down, threw all the brush on the wood pile, on the fire pit to be burned in a few weeks. got all the heavy logs under the woodshed to dry a little bit, and at some point get split. And then I've got those 2 long guys that if they don't get used, I'll further cut them into, yeah. Oh, I loosened the chain plenty after
It was loose.
By the time I was done, I'd stretched the chain a little bit. It was a new chain, and the locusts are tough. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to take it off and send it. We just down the road. They do 1-day turnaround. But sharp in the morning when I drop it off that day, and I think I'll get 1 more sharpen on it. But I try and keep a couple extra chains around. The locusts are notorious for being a tough cut.
Yeah, no, they are extremely hard wood, and they don't break down very quickly either. So unfortunately, it's not material to go in the
Yeah, it's not really hoogleable, but it burns really good.
That's a new word. Hoogleable?
Yeah.
So that's a hard
I don't know. Somebody might have a little video. I said, put up a warning, we're amateurs, and you know, technique. I think we did it safely without any problem. Well, we obviously did, but I'm sure the first thing people are going to be screaming about, I was wearing shorts, but so be it. I think a chainsaw goes through jeans as fast as it goes through shorts. So,
yeah, don't have any chaps.
We kept the chainsaw away from
all body parts.
My body parts and limbs, and
kept no kickback on the tree. So
yeah, well, I got a nice cut, and I got it to tear just an inch or so in the middle, and in fact, it started to slowly creak over. And I gave it 1 little half a buzz, and it slowly, and it fell right out. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was just slow timber.
And didn't move at all. That was exactly as designed.
Yep. So as we were chatting about the tree, but I'm glad that came down easily. It could have been.
Yeah, I thought the cleanup went relatively faster than I had expected. And it was in a good part of the yard. There was no obstruction, and you know the trucks parked not far from it, so I could back the truck in and take the wood out. Oh, and then the other thing is I bought a grapple with the idea of taking down a number of these bigger trees, and so I bought a pretty heavy duty grapple that's 30-inch, you know, grab like a 30-inch trunk or something, and so I hooked up the grapple for the first time with a pull cord.
And hooked it up to the back of the truck.
Because I had these 8-foot logs that actually they're not terrible to roll over, but I wasn't going to move them easily. No. So I grappled it with the truck and dragged it over to the woodshed for holding for the moment, and it worked great.
Yep.
So I don't have a lift or we don't have a front end loader or anything like that. Yeah. We're not a farm. I mean, we don't have heavy equipment.
So Tina asked while we were chatting, Thai chilies, how spicy are they?
They are on the spicier end. I really like them. What I find is they have a very intense burn, but they have a great flavor. And the burn is quick and it dissipates. It also builds. If you keep eating, it builds. But I find some things that just burn for a long time.
Yeah.
Thai chilies, it's all in perspective, but I find that they relinquish the pretty fierce heat much quicker than some chilies, and I find them
I don't know,
pretty tasty.
It depends on how many are in the dish.
Yeah, they're hotter than jalapenos. Yeah. They're a little less than like habaneros and definitely ghost peppers, which have very little cooking use.
Yeah, we have one of our favorite restaurants nearby is a place that has a bunch of Thai chilies in one of
those are
dishes.
The Chinese chilies. They're not the Thai or the little skinny ones.
They say Thai on the menu.
Maybe they're not the real little ones. Yeah, I guess it depends. Yeah,
but they put a lot of dried ones in that dish, and I do have to pick them out and put them to the side.
They put a lot in. I'll eat about 3 on those. I really don't think they're not like the fresh Thai.
They make the dish really nice.
Yeah,
but I can't eat them straight.
Yeah, I eat maybe 3, and that's enough. If I eat any more than that, hot. If I eat 4 or 5 of them the next morning or later that night, I'm going to be pretty grumbly. Yeah. I felt like I ate way too much chili. So, yeah.
Yeah.
They freeze really well. Fresh chilies freeze really well. We used to do something. We take the green and the red ones, cut them into super small rings, as small as we could. We mix them with rice wine vinegar, so the white rice wine vinegar. Palm sugar, but you could use light brown sugar or some honey or whatever, and finely minced ginger. I think we might have a little shallot in there, and then we actually put crushed peanuts in it, and we kept it. It's a pretty sweet vinaigrette, and so the sweet cuts heat, and vinegar actually helps cut heat. They don't cut it completely by any means, and we use that as a hot dipping sauce. It was amazing. It's amazingly good. But you use the fresh chilies with that, and you cut it as small as you can. You can take the seeds, and scraping the ribs, which are hard to find on there, will significantly take down the heat, but it will still be quite hot.
The peppers dried is what second half home said, and puts them in with dilly beans. Put one in a pint or a quart of dilly beans.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I like a hot pickled bean or an okra or something. Yep. And yeah, we do put our ash in our garden. We do have a burn pile, which we keep clean burn. So we do take a lot of our cardboard that comes in. It's not perfectly clean, but we make sure all the plastic and stuff is removed, and so we burn that down, and so that can potentially end up in our garden too.
Yeah. Yep. And we have a couple pine trees next to our garden, so I tend to use some of the ash from the wintertime and try to neutralize some of the pine acidity.
Yeah, we got a pine tree close to our garden that's plays with some of the stuff. Yeah, hot peppers and ketchup, or that can also be a chili sauce, which can be a base for making things like cocktail sauce, is really nice. And you do just have to moderate it to your taste as well as the peppers you have on hand, but it would do really nice.
And some peppers, even of the same type, can be hotter or more mild, just based on the growing conditions.
Oh yeah, totally.
Even based on time of year they're harvested and stuff. So, and the variety.
You can pickle them too. You can do lacto-fermenting pickling. It will take the heat down some. It does not take it all the way out, obviously, but you can bring the heat down a little bit with, again, the vinegar and the pickling process.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Being blind and eating one of those by accident probably would not be a good surprise.
I can tell you, I think it was my senior year in high school. We had gone to a Chinese buffet, and I grabbed some, I don't know, beef and broccoli, chicken and something. I don't know what it was. It had little green chilies about that big in there, and I thought they were cut up green beans. There were that many in there also.
Oh my gosh.
And they were this right size, the Chinese style one, that they could have been like a piece of green bean.
Yeah.
So, and it may have even been cut on I don't know what it was. So I think we were near the end of the meal. I got up to get a little bit more of something, and I ate a whole one. Just ate it like it was a green bean. And I know what chilies were. I guess I know more about them now. It hit me right away. And again, I liked it.
Surprising.
And I was sweating. I ate whatever else was on my plate. I drank all my water. Of course, Chinese style buffet doesn't really have much in the dessert world, but I think I got some fruit. I remember I was sweating, and I felt like I was almost going to get sick. And I don't know if I've ever had a chili that was so hot. And I clearly wasn't paying attention, but I think that was a little hot for a Midwest buffet. So, and I only had one, and there were multiple in the dish. So
that's yeah, that can be caught by surprise, even if you can see.
Nice thing you can do, you can poke a hole in some of these chilies, just pinprick it, and let it swim around in a dish. And it will slowly release some of the heat and flavor, and then you can pull it out. Before serving.
Before giving someone a surprise.
Yeah. The other thing, watch out if you have liquidy things, soups, or things that have a skin of fat, because it's more fat soluble. It will transfer into the small amount of fat on the top of a soup. So when you add hot chilies to soup, they become much more intensely hot than you would expect from a protein or definitely a starchy item. Or something like a braise that cooks for a long time and definitely has like a skin of fat on it, will surprise you at how hot it can be.
Yeah, use them sparingly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sauerkraut. Yeah.
Yeah, curtido is great, and you pour off the juices, and you use it as a stomach digestive after meals a lot of times. Yeah, it's great. I love putting a little chili in.
Garden of Good and Tina. Go-Gat for short. That's a new name for your garden. I didn't name my garden. I don't name my chickens much either. But they sometimes eventually get their own names. But yeah, but that's kind of cool. Tina, do you have any Broody Silkies right now? Guess that's the next question because they definitely go Broody routinely, and I know you have a bunch of Silkies or a handful of them. I think I saw another question we missed way back here. Someone was asking way back at the beginning, and I forget who it was, how I'm feeling and if I'm still not feeling well. Unfortunately, I'm still taking medication to feel okay, but not much of it. So I've not been as bad as some as far as morning sickness in the first part of the pregnancy, but I have been nauseous. So I did start taking something for that and can't stop, it seems, because I still get sick or feel it. So anyway, I wanted to go back to that. I forget who asked that question way at the beginning, but I did miss that as we went.
Now I don't. Yeah, Green Gables. Most people, I think, that use their livestock for trade or for eating them or service animals don't necessarily name them, especially if they're going to kill them or sell them quickly, because they're really a tool. They're not a pet. So yeah.
So no, only a couple of our chickens have gotten names. One came with a name. Our one oldest rooster has a name because he hatched on leap day, leap year. So he is leapy, but he came with that name. And then one of our old girls who died about a couple months ago, I guess now, was Miss Blue, but that's only because she had a blue tag on her, and she was always the friendliest one, came running to us, first one there, and would eat out of her hand and all that. So although we're starting to talk about Red Girl a lot, and we know who we're talking about.
She's been jumping out.
She jumps out every day and apparently hiding those eggs.
Well, then you have Hootenanny, which my mom named.
Yes, your mom named Hootenanny, although she's a hard one to tell apart from the others because we have a lot of white chickens.
She doesn't jump out as much. She's older. We did clip her wings eventually. I don't know.
Last year we did.
Do they grow back? I assume over time.
Yeah, no, when they molt,
but she has not been jumping out since then.
She's not done it at all this year. Just really, well, we had a couple in the early spring that were trying to jump out, but otherwise not too much. They're in the Broody breaker now. Tina, I do have, no, I'm not RH negative. But Tina, I do have a video that you asked for that will be coming hopefully this week before we go to Hootenanny, if I could find time to put it together. I want to get that done. So about that nursery tractor that, so I did do a little tour of our two versions of it, and I'll put that together for you. I know I had a couple other people ask how that was made, and we haven't made another one since I started doing videos. So that is on the list to do eventually. But trying to see if that's, I don't like breaking broodies if I can avoid it. If I could give them eggs, I'll give them eggs. But if it's late in the year, I don't like, I'll try to break them. We tried to break Hootenanny, and that was a ordeal last fall because Lucky did not like that idea.
Oh yeah.
I had to put Hootenanny in a crate underneath the coop outside. She was in a little small dog crate underneath the coop outside because Lucky was I don't know what's going to happen when Hootenanny passes, because I cannot take Hootenanny out because Lucky will go nuts. Lucky just loves that chicken. And let's see, Carrie says she has 2 geese, but it's tough to tell them apart. Have to stand on my head to see the difference. So they don't have names. My 2 geese do have names, mainly because
they're permanent.
They're permanent. However long they live, they're staying with us. Lucky and Gus, technically I probably couldn't tell them apart, except their personalities are different. So that's how I can tell them apart.
They've been separated in their own flocks from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Gus does, like, if they ever combine, Gus does chase Lucky more than the other way around. And Gus will go back to his Silkies. he's definitely one for you could tell.
Hootenanny is our sneaky hen. That's why it was jumping out, and then we found eggs a couple of times.
Yeah.
I've been in the yard, large pile of them.
Yeah. Once had a hen who could fly out over an 8-foot fence with clipped wings. Yeah, they could jump high with clipped wings. She hid and hatched out 4 chicks and got named Sneaky Hen. Yeah, the chickens can jump out. Now, if you clip one wing, they like Houdini last year. We clipped one wing for her. She jumped out one more time. The problem with her was Lucky was following her. Except he wasn't jumping. He was crashing the
Oh,
net
that's right, yeah.
and going straight through it. So we decided to clip one of Houdini's wings. She did it one more day, but I saw her jump out that day, and it was a funky angle, kind of crash land. She didn't jump out again after that.
Well, we had a pile of feathers this week where I think the red one jumped out in between where we had a whole bunch of fencing converging.
Yeah.
And I think she got in there.
Got caught
temporarily and got probably shocked a couple of times and feathers everywhere, and finally figured her way out. She's fine, and she's not hurt, but no. I don't know when it happened. Nothing gets over there usually. She was out
earlier.
I was looking for a dead chicken possibly, because usually when you see a pile of feathers outside of the fence, it means something happened.
She was out earlier than that. So I'm wondering if something chased her between the fences to where they came together, because we have their 2 fences hooked to one charger, which means they're hooked to each other as well. So I'm wondering if she got chased into that trap, and maybe whatever chased her got zapped too and took off, and took her longer.
Yeah, that was Lucky actually. I think that came all the way around the house when we had a dog or coyote attack take out about 4 or 5 chickens.
Yes, Lucky did give us that warning, although we didn't understand it.
Well, he knows we come from the house.
Yes, he does.
So, and he was half running. Yeah, he definitely, it was too late, but
was it Lucky or was it Gus? I think it was Lucky.
I think it was Lucky. I had to chase them all the way around the house by the time I found out there were
no, it was Lucky
birds all
because
over.
it was when they were in the garden.
Yeah, it was last fall.
It was definitely Lucky. Because we didn't have the Silkies in the garden with Gus. Yeah.
The other thing going on this week was, so we had our county fair, which we said we may try and go to. I had night market this week.
We didn't get out there
Thursday, so it was very busy, and I had special orders going out all week. So the only hope was Saturday after market. Well, we were getting thunderstorms and stuff coming in and out, and we've been in the high 90s and high humidity much of the week. So we never made it to the fair. I'm guessing a lot of people didn't. One of the people that works for me part-time participates in the fair. He won all kinds of awards this year.
Yeah. Yep.
And they do poultry and a whole variety of things. So, but he came in one day to work, which surprised me a little bit. He said he was available for 3 hours. He maybe wanted to get out of the fair, probably bored and hot. So
yeah.
So he came in and worked for a few hours.
And it's cool in the kitchen down there.
Oh, the basement's cool. Yeah, it's always cool.
Yeah.
It's low mid 70s down there.
So it was a great place for him to cool off.
Yeah. So he, well, we heard the day before that the state vet was coming in to do rounds. I mean, every day they do rounds with local.
Yeah.
Local vets.
But because of the heat.
But because of the heat, to actually determine if it was safe. I don't know the final outcome, but they could actually remove whole classes of animals if it was deemed dangerous or inhumane. So I don't know the full outcome. I was told that, so they do the poultry auction and small animals on Wednesday afternoon. I was told they actually sent the poultry to butcher that night or the next morning right away, instead of keeping them on site for the rest. And the birds are more heat tolerant. Many of them are more heat tolerant than some of the other animals. So they actually sent them out. So I don't know if they sent out some of the other animals selectively.
The fair in general is fairly stressful on the animals, and then you add the heat to that.
We have had pretty high heat and humidity the last 3 or 4 years, every year.
At the fair, yeah.
A lot of concern for, they've taken out, individuals have taken animals home sometimes, especially the large ones. You can't risk a loss.
No.
And because they don't sleep well, it's like everybody else is camped out. They're all camped out in barns that are unfamiliar, and there's noise and evening routines, and they're watering and feeding them differently, and they don't rest well because there's people through. So generally it works pretty well, but
Add the heat
the
to
vets were in there, and I know that people were having a tough time. So the fair might have been pretty well. It finishes Saturday night, and then they all roll out. People are camping and stuff from participants on Sunday morning. So I'm gonna guess if we got there Saturday night, a lot of the barns would be fairly emptied, and
Yeah.
they're done.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty much it, wrapping up anyway.
yeah, we were dry for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and
We
then,
actually watered our garden once.
yeah, but we've got enough to get us by for a few more days.
Yeah, we got enough
Got
rain.
some heavy rains.
I don't think we're supposed to get rain again until after Hootenanny. It looks like, as of I don't trust things a week
the
out.
long
Yeah.
forecast for weather is that July is supposed to be pretty dry. Now we live somewhat off the lake, so they're getting some heating off the lake, although you could watch it dissipate as it came across the state.
Yeah.
Because the state was dry, but
we
get pretty strong storms sometimes.
It drops here, so it pulls all that moisture off the lake. As soon as it gets over land, it drops, and then as you go east, it's
by the
running
middle
out
of the
moisture.
State, sometimes it's done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so we
get a little extra sometimes, which is why we have all the fruit growing, the sandy soil and the good rain and temperate, a little more temperate climate.
That's also why we get more snow than the east side of the state most of the time. So, but yeah, I found. So you could have some of our rain if you really want. We have so many mosquitoes from all our rain.
Yeah.
I'm ready for a week of dry, which we're supposed to have here. We did have that week and a half there, but besides that, we had like 3 months of April showers, so that was kind of a pain. And our water table is so high right now.
The kids, most of them sleep over and to attend their animals, and they have big camping area, camp trailers, and whatever else. And there are definitely spray downs. It's an old 4-H campground. It's pretty simple, but they've got nice barns, and there are some older benefactors that have definitely donated a lot of money to keep it up. So yeah, there is a lot of spray down going on every day for the ants, especially the horses.
Yeah, and probably the pigs too.
Yep.
So moving to a rural acreage, what kind of geese would you recommend for guardians? One, it's actually, I would say it's more about raising one goose per flock. If you want them to guard a chicken flock, just have one goose per chicken flock, because otherwise, as I think it was Carrie was saying, she has a pair of females and they bonded more with each other than with the flock.
So incubate them, time the incubation, or time, even harder, what we did was time them to sit. Yeah. And so they hatch within a day or two of young chickens.
Got to be within a day.
So they grow up together.
Yeah. So we had our Silkies. Our Silkies raised our geese for us. We had 3 Broody girls, 2 Silkies, 1 main flock. Because I wasn't sure if all 3 eggs were going to hatch. Mm-hmm. I gave. Well, one girl went Broody first. I gave her all 3 eggs at once, and we got lucky, and 2 other girls went Broody about a week later. So I split the 3 eggs between the 3 of them and gave them each 2 chicken eggs. So they were raising the geese with a couple chicks. And then I had them towards the end, as they were getting older, I had them in the flocks in the nursery tractors. So that they would get used to.
They were monsters, but everybody thought they were the same.
So. They outgrew the Silkies. We kept the ones that the Silkies raised because we could handle them more.
Those are the original videos from 3 years ago with the roads. Right before and when the roads were here.
2 years ago.
3 years. It's been 3.
This is the 3rd summer.
The 3rd summer.
So yeah, just over 2 years.
So yeah, so you can. So the roads have guard geese, but they have a guard variety, right?
Yeah, so as far as varieties go, a lot of people get either Roman crested,
which are smaller,
but they're what the Romans used as their guard. They had them in pens, and they make a lot of noise if they're being threatened. So they used them actually around the army to basically sound warning if there was someone coming to spy on them as they were camped out. The other one, Chinese crested, I think is another one people use for guardians. We actually have a local meat goose breeder here in town, and he has 2 types of geese there. And so
Carrie has Emden, which is one of the varieties he has.
Yeah, which is I think what we ended up with, because the other variety he has is Toulouse, which is a gray and white.
So he
goose.
said I asked him for fertile eggs. He charged me like a couple dollars an egg. He said
it was about $5 an egg, I think.
No, I think he charged like $2 an egg.
Yeah, I thought it was more.
It was very
yeah.
And so he says, "Look, I'll get you what I believe to be fertile eggs."
Yeah.
He says, "I don't know what the variety is going to be for certain."
Yeah. We asked him if they interbred because they're all together. He has a big goose flock of the mix of the two, and he said he couldn't be sure, but they seem to pair up with the same breed. So he thought that they might be purebred, but couldn't say for sure.
And he
said, say which breed.
And he said that. So we had to wait a while. He had them because we didn't have a broody hen, and then we told him, and the next week he brought us eggs at the market. And he's actually across from me at the market this year, and we're pretty good friends. I really like what he does out there. But I just knew he had geese, and so they're pretty heavy. They're pretty big geese. They're supposed to live maybe up to 20 years. I don't know because they're meat breed if they're going to live that long.
I've read up to big. 40 for some of the breeds, but
because they're big. They eat.
They're heavy.
They're heavy. I don't know if they're gonna last that long, but yeah. So I don't know if
Carrie, how old are
breed
yours?
is that specifically important. And they're not extremely aggressive. Some of them are very aggressive and will chase people and all kinds of things. They're actually probably a little more docile than we.
Yeah, like. They are. Oh well, I think. They do like.
I think if something got in there that was an animal, they would. Well, they've run away from some stuff a little.
Yeah,
bit.
Lucky's are more scared than Gus is.
But they do make enough noise that.
Yes, they are definitely good noisemakers to call you out to them. Sometimes they make noise over nothing, but
they do a lot of that.
They do a little bit of crying wolf, but and they do chat a lot too. But no, they will announce when something's in the yard. Whether it's a deer or a person or anything, or we're leaving the back door, they will say hi.
As soon as they hear the door, they start making noise like we're going to feed them.
Well,
any reason that we're going out.
A lot of times we are going to feed them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so ours don't attack so much. Now, I probably would not trust them with a toddler in with the chickens.
Yeah.
I would stay in with them because Gus has come up and nipped me occasionally, and I basically. You know what they do to each other to show dominance? You read on these things. They grab the neck, and the dominant one will grab the neck of the other one and hold him down if he's being threatened, and just hold him down until he gives up, and then you'll let him go to run away. So a goose coming up to nip somebody is kind of going for the same thing. But if you grab their neck and hold them, I'd just pick them up and hold them and until he stops fighting it, and then I set him back down and let him go on his way. So, yeah. So Noah's Ark's dad has French Toulouse and Cotton Patch. I don't have.
I mean, our Emden might be the size of a medium-sized turkey. Live weight, he might be.
He's
20, 25 pounds.
Yeah.
He's heavy. He's got some muscle and got some fat on him and lots of feathers. He's well taken care of.
I'm trying to see if I missed anything else here.
Yeah, ours tend to be a little more on the honking and then running around.
Yeah. And they have so many different calls. They're a lot smarter than chickens. They're kind of definitely have their own personality. Gus was very excited. What was it, yesterday when he filled his pool and it was so hot out?
He's done this. Yeah, he jumped in it because it was cool, and that was Friday. And he jumped out, tripped out because they can't see below their feet. He tripped out of the pool.
They always look up.
They almost fall down on himself, and he runs in a huge circle, squawking and whacking his wings around. And he runs in a circle into the pool and out of the pool and into the pool and out of the pool. And they do that, and then because he's so excited, he can't stay in the pool, and then he sits down in the pool.
Yeah,
they do that because they're in a kiddie pool since we don't have open water.
Yeah, so he gets so
they
excited.
have to get the pool changed once or so a day.
Yeah,
which they do get excited. The water is clean because they poop in the pool like crazy.
And cold.
And it's cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they probably cool their body a little bit through their feet. That's my guess.
Yeah. So second half home says they're gonna buy geese with the chicks. I would probably if possible, if you could set it up this way, I'd set it up with a group of chicks and one goose, a group of chicks and one goose. So each one has its kind of flock that it'll be staying with. Just so they're because at least my experience with Gus, he is definitely bonded to the Silkies. We sometimes will have one of these girls who jump out of the main, or we had it with the roosters, actually.
They were jumping from one group to the next.
They were jumping into the next fencing, and
from the winter coop.
And Gus would like basically warn that there's an intruder because it's an intruder from the next flock.
Then he'd chase them into
and
the
chase
corner.
them. He wouldn't kill them.
Yeah, he pecked them a little bit, but not really.
Yeah.
He mostly just chased them all around. These were younger chickens, and they were scared to death.
So there are a couple of hens.
Lucky was trying to get at Gus when they're
next to each other.
When the fences were next to each other.
Yeah.
He was pecking at the welded wire. Actually, I think he was temporarily damaging his beak. He was pecking at.
So
they couldn't get to each other. They were just whacking at each other on the hardware cloth.
But yeah, so they're a little territorial over their flocks.
Well, we ate one of our remnants. The
we
third one, which we didn't need.
So all 3 eggs.
It was pretty tasty.
Yeah, all 3 eggs hatched, and we had one for Thanksgiving that year.
It was unnamed.
Yeah, kind of. We named her Christmas.
Oh, that's right.
I think it was a female.
We think it was a female. We picked the 2 largest for no particular reason. They all seemed healthy and fine.
I actually had a reason for it. I was hoping they were both boys.
Well, we didn't want to have a breeding pair.
I didn't want a breeding pair. I didn't want a female who was going to guard a nest from the chickens was my concern. So I wanted males for the guards. So that was kind of why I went for those.
The one was, 6 months old or so when we called it?
Almost. She was probably
It was good size. I probably could have got a little larger, but you want them to be goslings and, young ducks and young geese because they get tougher, and for roasting. And it was decent size, a little smaller than a commercial one. We were happy with it for that purpose.
ASL says their pilgrim goose adopts any bird babies I put on the farm. Yes, they love babies. They absolutely love babies.
They follow them all over.
I will have another video. Actually, I'll probably stick it in the video for Tina on the nursery tractor because I got a little bit of footage today of Gus hanging out with the babies who are just recently released from that. He is like watching over them. He loves them. He would sleep next to the coop.
Yeah.
Right next to the coop. So we actually part of the reason we had to keep moving the coop was so that he didn't poop all over the place in just one spot. But it also gave the chicks fresh grass too, of course.
They do fertilize a lot.
Yeah.
They fertilize in their water constantly, which you have to change it daily. They splash half of it out, and then they go to the bathroom in it, and you have to refresh the water just because of all of that.
Emden geese is most likely what they ate during Dickens' time. Emden is a Dutch breed, and probably went over to England.
We had a guy at a club that I worked at, an older guy, who was emphatic with the chef and myself talking about a breed of geese, I can't remember which one, that he really loved as a kid, and that why didn't we serve Christmas goose? We're like, well, maybe we'll get a few geese in. And he goes, yeah, but you got to get whatever this breed was. And he's asking for it, and so we start looking around. Of course, geese pretty expensive, but we were at a place where we might have entertained getting 4 or 6, one because we would have been happy to do it, and then offering it as part of it and letting this guy know because a lot of it was taking care of the members. Well, we started asking around for it, and they're like, that's a heritage breed that is not commercially available. It is only grown. It's only grown as a
backyard flock.
As a backyard flock, and somebody said it's illegal, but I'm not certain it's illegal. But it is not commercially available. So we were like, we can't do it because it's a breeding goose. So we didn't. But we talked about getting some other geese. I don't think we ever did.
Oh, one other thing that I think advantage of the geese is if a rooster is being a little too randy and he'll chase the rooster off the girls sometimes, especially their favorite girl. So
when we had a lot of young roosters all together, he would chase them constantly and keep because they were running all over the place.
Yeah.
And they will eat a lot more grass, whereas the chickens prefer bugs and grain. The geese like green stuff, and they will eat not so much bugs, but they will eat grain. But
they'll eat grains
if they can get the fresh greens, so it's a good balance. They'll eat the taller stuff, and they'll eat more greens and then allows the chickens to get the lower stuff and start pecking and scratching more.
Yep. Curious geese will stay close to their ducklings, which I had separate until they got older. Yeah. What predators are the geese protecting the chickens from at our place? Mainly the aerial predators, because we have electric poultry net around our coop. So I have seen Gus chase off a hawk.
Hawks,
Um,
crows.
Yeah, hawks, crows.
We haven't seen owls.
But I mean, of course, they're at night, and our chickens are usually locked up by that point. Lucky will go in the chicken tractor with the main flock.
Most of the time.
Almost always. Yeah. Occasionally he'll sleep outside, but a lot of times he'll go inside. Gus, when we're in the tractor for the summer, he will not go in the tractor at all. He sleeps right next to wherever the babies are. So whether that's in the main tractor or where his, I think he likes that girl too, but they will both sleep in the coops for the winter. They both go in for the winter ones, but so we have a separate coop that is stationary for each of them.
They like to get up earlier and they like to go to bed later. So I think sometimes
they like to stay out.
A little claustrophobic and want to be out more.
They like to hang out in the pool at night sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes all night. Gus will be, I don't know if he's asleep, but he's like in a trance just sitting in the pool.
I don't think they hardly sleep for that matter. They sleep once in a while, but they don't sleep as much as chickens do. Your guinea ganged up on a hawk and ran it off.
Guineas are supposed to be tough.
Yeah.
They're funny. I mean, they're pretty good size too. They're not as big as a goose, but they're built pretty strong.
Yeah. I was just trying to see if there's any hawks, the main predators there. Yeah. So I think we really haven't had many aerial attacks that have been successful since we got them. Maybe one aerial attack, one that was probably a hawk midday in Gus's flock. It was a week after he lost 2 other silkies, though, to a possum is what I'm thinking based on the tracks. Right in the middle of the winter, and that was just a whole nother thing because they got
all the way into the coop.
Yeah, well, that coop wasn't being used. They were laying their eggs in there, but going into the mobile coop still at that point.
Yeah, so he may have been freaked out because they were tearing them up right next to him or whatever.
Yeah, so he freaked out. And
we were out of town for a few days. Actually, it happened like the night we came back into town, probably.
So I think he had a little PTSD when the hawk hit. He didn't chase that one off, but I haven't seen had any problems since then. So he was, I think, at a loss. We lost 3 silky hens.
A lot of times the hawks won't even come down because they're up looking and they see further and they make a lot of noise, and so the hawks will circle at a distance, but they don't come.
They rarely come down.
They don't come in. They look for something else.
I've seen them perch like on the playset or something and looking, but
the crows do that a lot. They'll perch really close, but the crows aren't typically a problem. They can be, but a lot of times they prefer something else.
Yeah. So it is 20 after 10, and we really should wrap this up. Love talking about the geese. The geese are fun. So I will have a little bit of a chicken video coming up here soon.
So we'll be at Hootenanny. Cindy will be there Friday night through Sunday morning. I'll be there Saturday afternoon. So there may be some live updates or Instagram or other things through the weekend, a little more activity, as well as all the many other channels that are run around, Hodgepodge and Pratt's. And,
so you should come out to the Hootenanny.
Yeah, tons of people.
ASL, I have lost some black silkies to hawks, so that might work for maybe some of the bigger ones, but I have also lost them to crows prior to getting the geese. So that might work for some of the bigger black chickens. I'm not sure if it'll work on the smaller ones.
Of course, we have snow in the winter, but they're not out in the snow as much. But
no, so they stand out against the snow. I think the first chickens I lost was when they were free ranging completely. I lost 4 of the flock at once to what I believe were coyotes midday, and the ones I lost were all white. They were all light Brahmas. And I think, again, they stood out against the green grass and the easier to target, plus they're bigger, heavier breed that probably don't move as fast.
I don't think the geese count their flock. I don't think they're highly attached. They get a little upset when we start removing a bunch of them into a different area, or if we're culling some of the older males.
If we're culling, if we're culling, well, they hear the chicken squawk, and then they start squawking. But if we are like I don't think I could remove Hootenanny because Lucky just has latched onto Hootenanny.
But they're not heavily. I don't think they're heavily attached to their current flocks in general.
Yeah, the rest of them, no, not so much. Yeah, big black Orpingtons. Yeah.
And then we will probably be here live Sunday night. Hootenanny ends for those camping over Sunday morning. I think.
Yeah.
Camp has to be cleared by 10 or something, or 11, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 11.
It's fairly early. So it's kind of breakfast and everybody says goodbye and we're out.
Yeah.
And then we drive home. It's a little just over an hour back home.
Yeah.
So we will likely be back on Sunday night.
Yeah. I planned on doing a live and probably have some
might have better pictures. We both got phones updated after 3.5 years, so we're just starting to set those up today.
And keep your eyes open because maybe on Saturday we'll be able to do a quick live from
you're gonna have, not only do we have better cameras, but they're not scratched, but you have even better updated cameras. So
let's say we updated our phones 3 years worth.
3.5 years since we got, we've never gotten phones to last any longer than 2 years.
Yeah, so
we really pushed them. But
so we do have new phones just this weekend, just in the process of setting them up. So next weekend we will be using those. So maybe we could go live from Hootenanny and have a little hello from everybody who will be there, like Two Family Homestead, and who else was in the room? Bandana Grandma.
There's a bunch of out-of-towners.
Bandana Grandma included.
Definitely people that are driving a distance.
Yeah.
Stefan, I believe, although he's more Instagram.
Stefan's Instagram. He doesn't do YouTube, but he's a fun one. Really, very much a foodie. Sutton's Days will be there. Let's see. We have, of course, the press because they're hosting it, and who is coming? Is it Deep South Homestead is coming?
I think they left a while ago.
So they're headed up this way. There's a lot of people coming from further away, and rumor. Not official, not 100% sure. He was talking about trying to make it, and I haven't heard a definite if he is.
I think that's probably a long shot.
But Dan from Grassfed was going to try to make it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be a heck of a lot of fun.
He's helped out a lot of people and actually knows Pratt's well. He's helped us out some.
He's helped the Pratts out. He's helped us out. He's helped Bobblehead out. He was actually my very first subscriber.
Yeah, and then haulers aren't gonna be able to make it. They're too busy.
Yeah.
Roads are too busy.
Roads are always. Alderman.
Alderman's. Oh,
Thank you. Not Deep South.
And they came last year.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep. So Alderman's coming back. A lot of people then get a second dose going to Homesteaders of America. We're not going.
Yeah.
Too close to baby due date, and we got too many things going on. So we're not doing.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe next year.
That'll be the first year we haven't gone to it since it started. So.
Yeah, so that was, we hadn't bought tickets, and we're early on, and so Yep.
So we will see you next week, but keep an eye open on Saturday. If we get a chance, we'll do a quick live then, and we get all the other channels maybe to say hi as well. And then we will see you Sunday night at our regular time with probably some pictures from Hootenanny. So we will see you next week. Have a good night, you guys.
Good night.